Hello everyone, Bryce K. Nielsen here, doing another weekly video on Think and Grow Rich. Uh, Today I'm on chapter 5 in my audio version, which is chapter 4 in the original numbering. This is the third principle of success, which is called autosuggestion. And the chapter is titled, the header of the chapter says, "A winner never quits and a quitter never wins." So in the third step towards success, autosuggestion, this is the principle of giving yourself positive affirmations to send the information that you want into your subconscious mind. This is how you deliberately reprogram your paradigm. I get the word paradigm from Bob Proctor. I don't think that concept existed at the time of Napoleon Hill wrote this, but it's all throughout the book. Um, I'm not going to read through all my notes. I got 7 pages of notes just from this chapter that's only 23 minutes long to listen to. And that includes a bunch of editor's comments that were not in his original text. He talks about the subconscious mind is a fertile garden. If we don't deliberately plant the seeds that we want, the positive thoughts that we want there, then the weeds are going to grow by themselves. I know that this concept of understanding the subconscious mind is retaining what was emotional, the experiences that were emotional, often from very early childhood. And this explains so much about why I've had such negative attitudes at times, why I've been caught up in certain habits, maybe that weren't very smart. A lot of this stuff is explained by this. This auto suggestion is a technique for deliberately reprogramming your mind, but we can also unintentionally use negative affirmations. When you expect bad things to happen, that's a negative affirmation. Um, in one of the editor's comments, they talk about the history of psychology. Um, Let me get that. That was later on. Hang on. Uh, there are some studies that validate his concepts about subconscious mind. For example, the fact that it retains everything the person has experienced. Um, he also talks about fixations, phobias, and compulsive behaviors are known to exist, and these are basically the childhood learning experience being retained in adulthood because it's a subconscious mind, and it's the subconscious mind that really controls our behavior and our actions. And so the childhood level of the information is what is driving us. Even though we, in our conscious mind, know that it's fallacious, sometimes we don't have that much control over our actions. Um, so one of the things you do, he kind of recaps the 6-step process from the very first principle, where you lay out 6 steps. You fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. Not enough to say, I want plenty of money. You have to be definite about the amount that you want. Determine exactly what you will give in return for the money, because there's no such reality as something for nothing. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire. Begin at once, whether you are ready or not. Put this plan into action. Write it out with a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition and state what you intend to give in return for the money. Describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. And number 6, read your written statement aloud twice daily. Read it once just before retiring at night. Read it once after arising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. So that's all repeated from 2 chapters before, principle 1, but he's going to add on to it later on in the chapter. He says your subconscious mind recognizes and acts only upon thoughts that have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. This is a fact of such importance as to warrant repetition in practically every chapter of the book. Do not be discouraged if you cannot control or direct your emotions the first time you try. All right. I'm going to skip over some of this stuff here. Your ability to learn the principle of autosuggestion will depend largely upon your capacity to concentrate on a given desire until that desire becomes a burning obsession. Then he gives suggestions for effective use of concentration. Close your eyes for the first step and hold thoughts on that amount of money until you can actually see the physical appearance of the money. You want to do this at least once a day and see yourself actually in possession of the money. You have to have, when you're giving orders to the subconscious mind, you have to have absolute faith in what you're directing it to do. The orders often have to be repeated over and over again, so this is not something you do once and it's set. A lot of people write out their affirmations and read them every day, or they'll fill a whole page, write the same statement over and over again. All of that stuff, there's a reason for that. That's how it works. So you want to make your subconscious mind believe, because you believe it, that you must have the amount of money you are visualizing. Make it believe this money is already awaiting your claim. So the subconscious mind must hand over practical plans for acquiring the money that is yours. In the fourth of the 6 steps, you're instructed to create a definite plan for carrying out your desire. You want to close your eyes and create in your mind a vivid image of you carrying out the instructions. It says your reasoning faculty may be lazy. So you're really looking for your subconscious mind to hand over practical plans. In the editor's comment, they talk about the basic principles of autosuggestion, closely related to hypnosis, self-hypnosis. And these are both concepts that played important roles in the development of modern psychology. And then they get into some of the history of how these things were delayed in being accepted, even though they were very important very early on in psychology. Hypnosis in particular was used by Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and William James, who are basically the 3 founders of modern psychology. And then it fell out of disfavor because stage magicians were using it for comic effect in their shows, and so a lot of people started to believe, oh well, it couldn't be a real therapy method if people are just using it for laughs. So it fell out of favor. And then autosuggestion was used not by those guys, but it was used by a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, a French guy named Émile Coué. I did a quote from him recently. But anyway, he was one of the early well-known advocates of autosuggestion. He did a tour of the United States, and he had a newspaper editor make a bad joke about his technique. You see, he came up with the phrase, which you've probably heard, every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. This was a generic autosuggestion affirmation that he used with patients who had psychosomatic condition. They thought they had diseases. Some of them even had symptoms of those diseases, but they didn't actually have the diseases. It was all in their mind. So he used this general affirmation to help those people. Well, he got so much ridicule from that joke that he canceled his American tour and went back to Europe to continue his practice. So that was how the setback for autosuggestion. And it didn't become popular again until, say, the 1980s, around then. Anyway, that's very sad. And nowadays we have tens of thousands of websites that have affirmations on them. There are many other best-selling books that have talked about visualization. That's another concept that is part of this chapter. Napoleon Hill actually wrote about it in an earlier book before he wrote Think and Grow Rich, from 1928, a book called Law of Success. It also talks about a plastic surgeon, Maxwell Maltz, who found that his patients, some of them, even after they had their physical deformities altered through his surgery, that they still thought of themselves in a negative way. So they needed mindset help. They needed to um, visualize themselves. They needed to alter their perception of themselves. And he wrote a best-selling book about it, Psycho-Cybernetics. There's another variation called the Silva Method, which is from a book by Jose Silva, who had certified Silva trainers teaching this technique to millions of people. All right, so let's see, what else have I got? Some other books by doctors that talk about visualization and other concepts that are related to this chapter. He talks about stimulating your subconscious mind, and he talks about going to a quiet spot, preferably in bed at night, and you close your eyes, repeat aloud your written statement of the amount of money you want to accumulate. Um, he gives an example of the statement, which I'll go through in my video next week. Um, then there's also another editor's comment with some quote information from one of Napoleon Hill's other books, Keys to Success, where it talks about surrounding yourself with books, pictures, and models. It's kind of an early version of a vision board. It's not necessarily on a board on this book. He talks about having things around you that symbolize achievement and self-reliance, moving them around once in a while, adding to them. They give an example of a realtor that had a certificate from $1 million club, and one day she took it down to dust. She put it on top of a newspaper. When she picked up the newspaper, when she picked it up later, she saw that it was on top of an article about the new football coach at the university. And then she wound up selling that university football coach a house that she had a hard time finding a buyer for. So that's another example of this visualization, this vision board application helped her get a sale. Okay, so back to Napoleon Hill's text. It says faith is the strongest and most productive of the emotions. So he does talk about quite a bit when you're doing autosuggestion, you have to emotionalize your statement. It's not enough to just read the words of the affirmation. You have to mix it with emotion, and faith is one of the strong emotions. The three strongest, he says, are faith, love, and sex. So anyway, but any positive emotion will work. He also suggests after you read the entire book, you come back and read chapter, well, it's chapter 4, but I'm calling it chapter 5 because that's what it is in the audio version I'm listening to. So anyway, you read this chapter aloud every day until you become thoroughly convinced the principle of autosuggestion is sound and will accomplish for you all that has been claimed for it. He wants you to underscore with a pencil every sentence that impresses you, follow the foregoing instruction to the letter, will open the way for a complete understanding and mastery of the principles of success. All right, so through with my notes there. Just want to talk about what I've been studying so far. Some of this stuff is a little heavy. I think that's why I say it's heavy. It's dense. It's stuff that you need repetition in order to really get everything out of it. So that's why I've been listening to it every day. But I found that as I take notes, sometimes that takes up most of my time. So that's why I'm going to do a review of the first 3 chapters for next week, which will take me for the first 3 hours basically of my audio version. I can put that audio version in the comments. It's a YouTube video that I converted into an audio file, and I can take it and listen to it anywhere. Very useful. The whole book is like over 10 hours long, but as I said, I'm about 3 hours into it now after 3 weeks. If anybody who's on wants to ask me a question or has a comment, I'd be glad to answer anything. So as I said, I'm gonna keep on reviewing this information every week, every day. For the next week, I'll be reviewing principles 1 through 3, and then a week from tomorrow, I will start on principle 4, which is specialized knowledge. So the first three that I've covered are desire, burning desire, faith, which is not a religious faith, it's a confidence that you can do something. And then if you don't have faith, the autosuggestion is how you acquire faith. It's the specific technique. And he did say at one point in these notes, I kind of missed that, but it says at one point in these notes, all of the other principles. Autosuggestion is really the method, the technique. All of the other principles are tools to support that method and that technique. So anyway, this is a great book. First came out in 1937. It's been revised constantly. I'm using a version that's came out about 2001. I'm not sure the exact date, but when they state the modern equivalent amount of money, they're using a 2001 figure, and they have a lot of examples of things that happened in the 1980s in the editor's comments. I find it very useful to have that particular version. I was mentioning in a comment on a post I commented on somebody else's post, and I said that I'm going to get a physical copy of this book. I don't have one right now. I just have the audio version, and I have an ebook, which is a different version. And then I'll get the physical copy of the same one I'm listening to. I think that will be the best. Anyway, I'm happy to share what I'm learning with on these things. I have written down a statement of my desire from the first principle, and I've been adding to it, and it's not really that concise anymore. I've got to work on the plan. I've been reading it aloud morning and night, which you're supposed to do, but it says in this chapter that you're supposed to be able to memorize it, and I think mine is a little bit too long to be memorized, so I need to make it shorter. Be a little bit more specific on the cut out some of the extraneous detail in terms of the plan. All right. Well, if I don't have any questions or comments, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm already going longer than I thought I was going to go. Like I said, this was a fairly short chapter. So autosuggestion, something that I've been using affirmations for the last 3 months, but I haven't been doing it in a consistent daily manner. Apart from the one I got from Bob Proctor that I write every morning with my left hand, which is about I got a morning routine where I write down 10 the 10 things I'm grateful for every morning, and then I also write a statement that Bob gave in one of his videos. You're happy. I'm happy and grateful that I now realize my spiritual DNA is perfect, and that perfection is within me. I begin my day looking for ways that I want to see that perfection expressed habitually. I've written it so many times that I've pretty much memorized it. Anyway, so I write that every day with my left hand, which is not my dominant hand. It's still very difficult. It was still very difficult for Bob when he'd been doing it for over 300 days. I haven't got that far yet. But anyway, that's my daily affirmation, and I have others that I'm going to do. I'm going to come up with a better system for doing those. I printed up a bunch of morning affirmations from one of my companies, and I'm looking forward to doing those on a regular basis because they're very helpful. Oh, I did write some affirmations a few times when I was feeling discouraged about something, and they really helped with that particular situation. But as I said, I haven't been doing it as a regular daily thing apart from my morning gratitude. I will be doing that. But it's good to understand some of the background of what this process is all about. Anyway, I hope everybody who sees this finds some value in what I'm discussing here, and I hope you'll study along with me. As I said, tomorrow I'll begin reviewing the first 3 principles, basically the first 5 chapters of the book. I think it's a heavy enough book that it warrants these occasional review breaks, and then we'll proceed forward into the next principle next week, next Monday. All right, everyone, have a good night or good day wherever you are, and I'll come back later and check on comments. If you want to ask me any questions about what I've covered, if you have suggestions of other things I can um, be talking about in my videos, I'll even take suggestions of other self-development books, although it's going to be more than 2 months before I finish this one, probably 3 months before I finish this book. But I will, like I said, I will take suggestions of what I should study next. This is just free information. I'm not doing these videos in order to promote anything. I'm just trying to help people out and sharing my journey as I learn these things. I have a lot of mindset issues. I have had, should say, for most of my life, I have had negative attitudes about myself and what I am capable of doing. And these affirmations, this auto-suggestion, the faith, the desire, all of that is very good for me. I already feel way more hopeful about my future because of all this. And as I apply it a little more consistently, I know that I'll have some results to share with my viewers. I'm looking forward to that. So I'll see you guys in the next video next week. If I don't do another one before then, I may do another 1 or 2 videos, but on a different type of topic. Anyway, I already said good night once. This is the second time. Okay. Bye, everyone.